There he still is, looking right through you. As you breathe in, it's a puzzle. What's hanging in front of you?
They do after 7 days, yes. We are deep in decomposition here.
The man before you is naked. The material, delicate. These are clearly not boots. They're...
Indeed.
Oh, the lieutenant uses a memo technique, A6. It's all you, babe.
Ceramic plate, zirconium dioxide, under the heel. Fair weather model T500. It is. It's expensive. We've requested similar material for a full set.
For the northwest region of Revachol, an officer's average yearly income.
By catching, do you mean let's not log them as evidence? Let's steal them? Of course.
The lieutenant nods often. It's
piece by piece. He's been out here for 7 days. We should keep a lookout for these pieces. The armor, no. He must have worn something precious underneath his clothes. They've removed all his clothes to get to it. They did not just strip him. Someone could have cleaned the yard. But that's a question for the red-haired thing.
I hear you, cop. Talking shit about the Kuno. Come here and say it to Kuno's face. You wanna fuck me, huh? You wanna fuck the Kuno?
They usually hang them completely naked for that. La puta madre, the Mazda, the Besmerties and the like.
What? Are you trying to ignore me now, fuckface?
Kuno, this boots shit is super boring and the guy's a total Victopaz.
The cadaver slowly twists. The hangman's knot is pulled tight. This is a steel...
Airlifting. I thought it was... No, you're right. The harbor uses 6 rotters to shuffle containers around. They use whatever was on hand here. I was afraid it would be. A noose is one of those things that ladder can't carry a grown man.
Could be. The shape of the cadaver hang an intricate web of blue lines stretches across.
A map of the stars. I do see some similar...
As if someone left that.
So am I.
He wears a wide leather belt around his waist. He takes a thin piece of milled aluminium.
A Trigger Sunshine.
Trigger is the world's leading manufacturer of intercommunication devices.
Shit, Kuno!
An instant color camera. I have only 2 ampoules, so nobody move. I don't want to waste one.
A sound, a shrill flash, followed by the breaking of a small ampoule of glass.
In case we need it. Yes, it is pretty cool, isn't it?
There is only one.
It contains insight to the victim's person. By his build, I'd say this was a man of physical violence. Here, a souvenir.
The glassy eye.
You've acquired an interactable item. Investigate.
His eyes are milky. I'm gone. I'm a joke. Look at me. A killer. A motherfucker. And a killer. Go ahead, Cobbo. Into the wild pale yonder. In the past. Way out in the west. What do you mean? It's the power of your imagination. Go ahead. Ask me more, because you're a copperoonie. Look at all of them go. Do you want more questions? Coming right up, copperoonie Rooney. This is getting upbeat now. Love did me in, Brother Copo. It was love all along. Fuck no. You're no Rooney. Listen to yourself. You're not a Raphael anything. You're probably just Harry or something. That's right. Harry. You can be anything you want. Because you have. Sure, Lobo. I can ask you a question. Looking at my face, motionless. Looking into my eyes. Standing here. Why are you investigating my murder? You're a lying sack of shit, Corpo. You're doing this because there is nothing else to do. Everything else is over. It's just me now. Come back later, Corpo.
As you narrow your eyes, the monster before you blurs into... This is a trick. You've done it before. Pink is where the blood settled in the first hours post-mortem. You can use... Only the lower extremities are pink with a dash of blue.
I see it.
The monster comes back into focus. An explosion of color, coursing with dark marbled veins. His stomach appears pregnant.
So, what do you think?
A pool of blood and feces has...
The victim appears to have contained no more than half a kilogram of digestion.
The fuck he's saying?
Talking about shit.
Malicious laughter erupts.
Big said he's a...
The lieutenant's face is made of stone.
I do. Most of them are post-mortem. Maybe even all of them.
Stop talking in riddles, coin slot.
He means you fucked him up good, Kuno. Fucked him up brutal-like.
Agreed. Especially on the neck. The belt acted like a tourniquet, keeping the blood in his head. There's always a chance. We should check for ligament marks.
But there is no breath to catch. Only the cadaver.
Are you sure we finished the preliminary examination of the cadaver?
The cadaver slowly twists on the cargo belt.
Of course. You have questions. Come back later, Corpo.
The steel-reinforced belt presents a unique challenge. I brought chain cutters, but I don't see a good angle of approach.
He doesn't actually think the challenge is unique.
The cadaver is a good 1.2 meters up. Neither one of us can reach the belt without...
Yeah! Bang bang time, pig! Shoot his head off!
How?
Where the buckle ties the rope to the branch. That's a good spot to aim.
Where?
Yeah, now we're talking.
They'll miss! The pigs will miss, Kuno.
The lieutenant's brow is furrowed. He appears too deep in concentration to even notice.
I'll blow his head off.
Take it!
Yeah, take the shot.
Silence. With his elbow sharp, the lieutenant unzips his jacket and produces a lightweight firearm. He drops a paper cartridge in the barrel, separates the scouring stick, and gives the cartridge 5 tucks, securing it in place. That's a Kiel A9090 Armistice, mass-produced muzzle-loader, ascetic, frugal, one of the most common firearms in the world. He then steps back and assumes the fellow's desk position, taking aim. The corner of his eye twitches. His finger is on the trigger.
He's gonna fucking miss!
The kid's voice is drowned in a shrill blast that...
God damn it.
A lot of things were wrong with that shot. The fellow's desk was the wrong choice. His shoulders were raised, but above all...
Fucking idiot!
Kuno could have hit it easy, but then Kuno's not fucking handicapped, is he? Kuno's sorry too.
The lieutenant doesn't say a word.
No, we are lucky as it is. Any more mistakes could put us in an unfortunate position with the locals. I have to say, it's beginning to look unlikely.
You know, you don't feel like too bad of a shot yourself.
It's bad as it is. Go ahead. I'm not stopping you. Just don't lose it.
They only have one gun!
This is the sorriest pair of pigs Kuno's ever seen.
Yeah, take it, you fucking banani boyka!
The cold piece of bakelite and
The fuck are you waiting for, Kuno?
the buckle comes into focus in your sights.
Why don't you just shoot yourself in your mouth? At least you won't miss. Do it! Set me free!
Don't.
Do it!
Intense shit, copper.
Could waved his gun! It
Your field of view narrows. The branch slowly moves, becoming entirely two-dimensional. The slow movement of the branch in the wind and your shoulders directing the gun sync up. Down.
Look, he's crying. You gonna cry now, fucking faggoty?
A plume of smoke erupts from the barrel. Your hand goes numb. You missed the belt, but hit the corpse straight in the chest. Bits of ribcage protrude from the skin. Despair creeps into you, getting fat on your weakness. Whatever noble intentions you once had as a police officer, you're still coming up with sentences. That's a step up from total annihilation, right?
Fuck me? Please leave the rage you have for us.
Nothing you can say. Cop gives up the detective genre for social realism. There he still is, looking right. As you breathe in, it's a puzzle. What's hanging in The man before you is naked, but for a pair of delicate. These.
Indeed.
Oh, the lieutenant. It's all
Ceramic under the hill. Fair weather. Fair weather. We've for
the northwest region of.
As a piece by piece. We should keep. No. He must have worn something precious. Someone could have.
I hear you, cop.
They usually.
What?
Kuno, this boots shit is super boring.
That's for us to find out. My initial report on the area suggests he was a security guard for the harbor. I agree. This equipment is
the cadavers, the hangman. This is a
airlifting. The local harbor uses 6 rotors to a noose. That ladder
could be.
I'm still approaching this as a lynching, yes. 70% of the cases I get are just filling in the...
The cadaver hangs from the cargo belt, limbs limp and torso covered in tattoos. An intricate web of blue line.
I have a...
It doesn't...
So am I.
He takes a thin piece of milled...
An instant. I have only 2 ampoules, so nobody move. I don't want to waste one.
A sound, a shrill flash, followed by the breaking.
In case we need it. Yes, it is pretty cool, isn't it?
There is only...
It contains insight to the victim's person. By his build, here.
The glossy...
You've acquired an interactable item. Investigate this item further by going to the Interact tab in your inventory.
As you know, this only the lower extremity.
I see it.
The monster.
So, what do you think?
The pool.
The victim appeared.
The fuck he's saying?
Talking about shit.
Did we? I don't feel lucky. Agreed. Especially, yes, there's always... I agree.
His person...
Totally dead. That sounds about right, yes. I do.
Stop.
It means you fucked him up good.
But there is no... His eyes, dark brown hair grows on it.
I'm gone. In the past. Way out. I'm a joke. Look, a kill. Go ahead. What do you mean? It's you. Go ahead. Because you're a copperoonie. Look at all of coming right. Fuck no. Listen to yourself. You're not a rat. You might be onto something there. Because you have laughed at me and provoke. Sure, looking at my face, motionless. I am all you have. Then you... Do I remind you of...
A child born with Muller's disease, harlequinism, grown up miraculously.
You sure I got out of that one? Coppellini. Come back later, Corpo.
Are you sure we finished the preliminary examination?
He doesn't...
The cadaver is a good 1.2 meters up. Climb up there and... There has to be a less risky way. With less falling. I was really hoping we wouldn't.
I would really prefer if there was another way. These people might have an agenda. But what other options? The corpse twists on the belt, like chicken on a...
Yeah,
How?
Where the buckle ties the rope to the branch. That's a good spot to aim.
Yes, the buckle, where it ties the cargo belt to the tree. If the shot hits that, then there might be a small chance to...
Yeah, now
They'll miss! The pigs will miss, Kuno!
I'll blow his head off.
Take it!
yeah.
Silence, and produces a lightweight firearm. He drops a paper cartridge in the barrel, separates the scouring stick, and gives the cartridge 5, securing that's a keel. He then steps back and assumes the fellow's desk position.
He's gonna...
The kid's voice is drowned in a shrill blast that
God damn it.
a lot of
Kuno could have hit it easy, but then Kuno's not Kuno's.
the lieutenant doesn't say a word.
I have to say,
You know, you don't feel like too bad of a shot yourself.
someone else? You mean like the police? Someone like a paid garbage man? Or a cleaning crew? I have bad news for you. I know it's hard, but I assure you, the others won't come to help us. And we have a growing sanitary concern here. We need to get him down, fast. It's bad as it... Go ahead.
This is the
Yeah, take it, you fucking banana boy!
The cold piece,
The fuck are you waiting?
the buckle,
Why don't you just shoot yourself in your mouth? At least you won't miss.
your field of view narrow. The slow move.
Look, he's crying! You gonna cry now, fucking faggoty?
The buckle explodes into tiny pieces, coming loose with a whir. With your hand numb from the recoil, you look at the body slump down. For a moment, the man appears to kneel, looking straight at you, helpless, trapped within itself.
Communism.
It takes a millisecond for the association to flash within your cortex. You have no idea where it's coming from. Then the rigor in his muscles gives up, and he smashes sideways into the spring mud, letting out a horrid stench.
Ace is high.
The ace is high. The lieutenant takes a little hop to perform the customary salutation. Your palm hurts from the slap. It's precise and down to the point.
I knew these guys were
We will perform a field autopsy and determine the cause of death. But before... Excuse me.
Slumped on the ground like that has not improved the way the corpse smells. The fall seems to have released something deep inside it.
It looks like I feel like taking a break from the stench. I'm sorry to interrupt the jubilations here. Just a little breather before we do the autopsy. In the meantime, we should try to interview Evrard Clare, the leader of the Union. Harbor property was clearly used in the hanging. The harbor just east of here. Getting in might prove a challenge. Or we could ask around for the representative of the logistics company. My initial information says the Wild Pines have sent some sort of strike negotiator.
You could ask the gardener for directions.
Yes. And those were the interviewees.
fuck does Kuno care?
What's going on? Like you don't have enough on your plate.
okay?
What's going on?
Fuck, does Kuno care?
What's going on? Like you don't...
Trying to fuck at the Kuno! Trying to fuck...
Kuno gonna
Normal is not what we got here. You've got to work.
Kuno doesn't...
This trash container is locked. The sliding lid has a padlock that says, Whirling. By the way, where is home? The address is coming up blank. But you've been at this hostel cafeteria for only 3 nights. Where were you before? You had to be somewhere, in time or space. That doesn't sound like somewhere you can stay if you run out of money. Entertain the thought when you get the time. Maybe being a hobo and a cop has its advantages. The theme on that pinball machine is a standard royalist theme, used on everything from pinball cabinets to full-flavor cigarettes, clinging to a picture book version of the past century, waiting for the king to come back and cast out all the profiteers and homosexuals. Basically, imagine a yellow plastic crown with a liquor brand emblazoned on it. The sentiment is called anti-centennial nostalgia, pining for a time before the turn of the century. It's common even now, after 50 years.
Hello again, sweetie. Oh, sweetie, I heard your conversation with the manager about your financial troubles. When do you get your next paycheck?
You must be joking. Although our pay does sometimes feel like a joke.
It's not easy to assert your right to a decent living wage when you don't have a strong union behind you.
Interesting idea. This Everard sounds powerful. Maybe you can wrangle some... Try to force a tear out of your duct. Really rip into the whole emotional aggression thing.
Officer, get a hold of yourself, please.
Sweetie, I'm sorry, but I think you need... Oh, no, I'm so sorry. I don't... Whatever do you mean? Sequence killers? Oh, my.
A partner who needs you to get back to helping the people of Martinez.
It seems to me that you lucked out with your partner.
Can I help you? Mine? No, it...
Thank you for clearing that up.
Why? To keep the hobos and drunks out. That's why. And the neighbors too. They put their trash there and they don't pay for the garbage company.
I thought as much. And are you the only party with access to the trash container?
Well, yes. Us and the garbage disposal company.
It seems a little callous, doesn't it? Something stirs in you. Prod at him and find out.
What do you need them?
It concerns the case. Please cooperate.
Just bring them back once you're done, please. What thing? Yes, not the whole damn Union, thank God. Just the nastiest and loudest faction. They come here in the evenings. Dumb, unruly types. Think they're big shit. But they're good customers. They place big orders and always pay on time.
We should find out who this Lord faction is. Okay. We don't. We have to wait. They'll show up sooner or later. Men get...
There are these things called days. You sleep between them. He's saying they'll come after you've slept. Just making clear you got that.
What?
By the way, you should come back to this thing-based questionnaire if you see anything. A thin man is smoking below an exhaust hood, occasionally sipping from his mug. This must be the Whirling's cook. As you step in, he nods toward the table and says something in a completely foreign language. The only words you can make out are Goranci and Kubek. Okay, it's definitely not his name. Whatever you do, please don't call him Goranci Kubek. Please. It's not funny. The man puts his cup down and replies something, his left hand drawing arcs in the air. He smiles and bangs his ladle against each of his pots in turn. It's almost like music, especially with the sounds of... You see a heavy steel door with a prominent dimpled lock. The cobalt blue surface feels rough to touch. Old cobalt paint. It leads to a side. The door does not budge.
You do? It's a door in the back of the kitchen. Why do you care where it leads? Eccentric. But okay, I suppose we could look into it. As a side investigation.
It's hardly a side investigation. You already have a name for it.
It's hardly worth a title. Anyway, Gart is the person to ask.
Can I help you? Another thing. Great. Oh, yes, that door, sure. There's nothing mysterious about it. No, I don't have a key. I don't know how to get there. And I don't care either. It's not like I've been wondering about it for 10 years. It's just a frit warehouse, probably. Or some boring storage...
He's attempting to maintain an air of indifference. It's absolutely not convincing. He looks at the dust on his finger and wipes it off.
Oh, yes, that... No, awesome...
He's attempting to maintain...
Fine, okay, a little. But my job doesn't leave me time for wondering about one locked door in one of the... So, I haven't opened it. I have cleaned the whole place 100 times over, though, after the animals. And I haven't found a key, so... Yes?
The door is closed. There is no answer. You hear the shower being turned on. Somewhere inside. Still no answer. Still, the lieutenant gives you a quick glance. This door can... You should pick that fat, juicy cigarette butt from the tray, light it up, and smoke the lift. Who knows what you are? A monster. A murderer. How very astute of you. This renders it ineffectual. You should look for a whole cigarette, or better yet, an entire pack. Strike that. Good. And when you're done, plus, smoking them gives massive bonuses.
Hello again, officer.
Welcome to Revachol.
Don't you welcome to Revachol me. My grandfather came here from a 3,000-year-old racist isolationist culture, while your ancestors came to this island a mere 300 years ago. Every school of thought and government has failed in this city, but I love it nonetheless. It belongs to me as much as it belongs to you. It's men like you who keep Revachol divided, making it that much harder for everyone to climb out of this post-war limbo.
What he means is, fixation on the Revacholian nation makes it harder for Revachol to actually attain self-determination.
Oh, come on, man. I just said, welcome to Revachol. It's a lorry driver thing.
I know exactly what you meant. You think my kind doesn't belong here, that I should watch myself and behave. But you see, I'm an officer of the RCM. It's actually my job to make sure you behave.
Silence. Your partner needs backup. Now's your moment to shine.
You two make a cute couple.
The lieutenant exhales and resumes his regular calm.
Whatever you say, officers.
He smells of heavy motor oils, and his breath of high tar content cigarettes, probably Astra Whites.
Oh, not much anymore. I'm here to pick up some cargo, but the dock workers are on strike, so it's a sit and wait on your ass situation. The strike? Oh, they've been at it for a while. A month, 2 months maybe. But this here is just the last week or so. Apples?
Apples is exactly the kind of thing you'd say if you had something to hide.
Yeah, apples? I take it you had other questions? It's about biological determinism, natural law, the sorting of the races. Not the most popular topic nowadays, with the coalition in charge and all. You might want to change the topic. That is, bury your head under the sand like, I'm not just racist. Look, I've read books, huh? The science of racial theory has all been proved. Even if people who've studied these things say that you and me are superior by design. So, naturally, we Occidentals should be in charge. Obviously, you can see the merits in that. Open your eyes. Haven't you noticed something different? Huh? When members of the superior race cease to believe in their innate superior... This concerns you, policeman, so you better be vigilant. The damn kids are showing up good lately.
Cultural victory? What is this then?
Oh?
Don't push your luck, runt.
Welcome to Frit. Feel free to look around or something. Everything is out on the shelves.
What's that magazine she's reading?
I don't know. Frit? I think they think that the extra T makes it funkier.
The story goes that normal Fritta, with 2 T's, a men's workwear shop in Vredefort, was already taken. So when Fritta Retail Inc. grew into a multinational corporation, they had to add an extra letter to avoid trademark infringement.
Okay. I'm not really supposed to be chatting to anyone, but... A warehouse? I don't know. Maybe. I don't really care.
She scrunches up her face into an expression of consummate adolescent skepticism.
Fine. Frit doesn't have a warehouse. Just a little back room here. Okay? I don't really know anything. I mean, I know it's there, but I haven't seen it, so... Not really. No. I didn't know him at all.
No need to worry. It's just standard procedure for us to ask around.
Okay. I don't know, really... Uh-huh. Reality? You mean, what reality?
She is like a student unexpectedly called upon by a teacher.
I don't know. What about it? We're in Frit? As mankind, or as a nation, or...
What will her essay prompt be?
We're in Revachol, like on the Insulindian Isola. That wasn't very hard. Cool.
You see several packaged raincoats fill a low shelf beneath a display of croissants and juice bottles. The raincoats are transparent, except for the big Fritta slogan on the back. The packages are small, discreet, sloppily stacked, making them easier to take unnoticed.
Is this a reality?
She is like a student.
I don't know.
The clock shows the time at 10:09. The hands seem to be still. It's apparent.
When ordinary people take over the government and, demand democracy? Yeah, it happened like 50 years ago or so. Sorry, I'm not our government? Or do you mean something else? Cool.
A small cabinet on the wall is filled with various medicine bottles, nasal sprays. Their logo is the bloodless rose, pure white, untouched by harm.
Just ask me if you need anything from St. Baptiste. We don't stock prescription meds, but we do have Nosafed, Duramine, magnesium, and Hypnogamma. Okay, here. I hope St. Baptiste makes you feel better or something.
The tear machine stands in the corner. A sign says, 1 bottle equals 10 cents.
No. You need tear to use the tear machine.
Bastards! We have a right to work! Hold up and stay frosty, everyone. Cops are here.
You here to fuck with us? Beat the honest worker down? Good. We're fighting for a cause here. Besides, we're not that different. It helps if people see us talking, cops and strikebreakers together. Shows authorities are on our side. Builds confidence. Maybe you should ask them the questions, like why we're not allowed to make a living here. We have families to feed, you piece of shit.
So do we, Scott.
We were promised work. We'd be in there, working, if the bastards hadn't shut the gates. Main gate's locked. Would take heavy ordnance to bust it open. Could try to get in through the secretary's office. Door's locked. The guard's blocking the way to the access panel. And I don't mean the scrawny mess punk either. I mean head measurer. Or whatever he is. Huge Seminese guy standing up there on the overhead passage. Won't let anyone by. The access panel is right behind him. Bad. Standing on a narrow bridge, he's got a strategically advantageous position. And he's trained. I don't know how the Union has a trained killer up there. But that one's no joke, and my men are tired and hungry. They're workers, not fighters. Like civilized folk, you mean? These native fucks don't understand civilized.
It would be better for the neighborhood if you went home, at least for now.
No! They will give up eventually. Or get drunk. Leave the button unguarded. Then we charge. Have fun. Union shits are on full strike. Don't think they're going to let you through the gates. Why you want to meet that fat asshole? I know nothing about a murder. Wouldn't put it past these harbor bugs. They'd do anything to stay alive. Right to work! It's shameful. Cops doing nothing. You should bring backup. Open up the gates for us. Blockading gainful employment for workers is a crime.
We are not picking a side in this just yet, sir.
Pity. Let us work! Honest men and women, with rights, to work, to be useful. Not toys for corporate interests. We came here to help the harbor run smoothly in time of crisis. If Union fucks don't want work, they ought to let in those who do want work.
I have a question. Why do all these men follow your leadership?
You think they follow because I'm big and loud? No. They follow the rules of the market. The rules of the economy, because they were given a job to do!
A lorry stuck in the traffic jam. This big, heavy Grad-made machine. The windows are clear. They've been recently washed. You can see the driver has adorned his space with a substantial collection of peculiar paraphernalia. A large metal pendant hangs from the rear view mirror. It is the seal of Royalist-era Revachol. The back end of the cabin has a small perch to sleep. Large ashtrays. A book with ragged edges catches your notice. The front cover features a large, muscular man. The title reads, Man from Eamdal, in the lost city of the Pygmies.
Racist nationalist paraphernalia. Not unusual in this part of town. This is our guy. Likely, yes. This guy's proud of who he is. Drapes it all over his machine.
A Stars Ryko, one of the finest Zhimsk-made motor carriages ever. An oldie but a goldie. Not many people outside of Grad, and Revachol West too.
A Stas Ryko KK2. That's a classic model. Never thought I'd see another one repainted after. An old case for my precinct. A couple of Zhimsk migrants saw a Stas Ryko stopped in the street, painted just like this, muddy brown. They said it was an honor killing, Hussar style. The Zhimsk community protested the trial, flying the banners of some old king or whatever.
Correction. 4,395. The fourth largest public protest of a criminal trial in Revachol.
"4 years for murder in Reunion. The perps were remorseful. Their sorry knocked 8 years off the sentence. That's the system.
The prisons in the great...
People we are paid to protect. Let's leave it at that. Is that so, officer? I'll take you at your word. Could it be another Stas Ryko murder? Honestly, that just doesn't seem like the type of vehicle our dead guy would drive. So my initial guess is the two are not... Yes, detective? You sure you're not Zhimsk?
Yes, you're sure you're not. Or... An old monument stands in the middle of the traffic island, pointing toward the sea. It looks as if it's been reassembled. A silver plaque on the statue's pedestal reads, "I am Philip III, the Squanderer, the greatest of the Philippian kings of Revachol, son of Philip II, the opulent, father of Philip IV, the insane." As you look up, you notice something about the statue. There are some odd indentations on the king's chestpiece. Even by the standards of the Philippian kings, old sumptuous Philip was known for his profligacy. Well, he blew through the whole national treasury, starting the decline of one of the penultimate century's greatest superpowers, the suzerain of Revachol. His own maladministration foreshadowed the fall of the monarchy during the anti-centennial revolution. Stories have it that he had his bedroom converted into a treasure chamber, where he stored unfathomable wealth. Krugerrands, bars of gold, ornate weaponry, armor, and various chalices. He called it the Sol Auron. It was obscene. There were whispers he slept on a huge pile of gold-dipped feathers, like some obese dragon. But wait, you haven't even heard about his fabled cocaine addiction. Philip III's ludicrous brom. Something with great kinetic energy seems to have impacted the cuirass. Someone shot him in the heart. Interesting.
Okay, I can't see it, but I take your word for it. Well, Martinez is riddled with bullet holes. This place saw a lot of action during the revolution. But the statue is recently renovated, so maybe a joke? Target practice? Or why not? What this shows us is guns aren't too uncommon here, and people still shoot them.
The king stands high above you, surveying the bay. This trash container is locked. The sliding lid has a pad with a well-oiled crack. Don't. Maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't. Of course you should. This is your time to shine, Hobo Cop. Dive into that dumpster for extra content. Just a feeling. A warning. The smell of rotten food rises to greet you. You see soggy cartons, dirty rags, and organic waste.
We're just in time. This hasn't been emptied for over a week.
Wow. An Armistice caliber 50 knock cannon. Half wrapped in paper tissues. So shiny. It's a giant rifle, and it's very expensive. Not as expensive as that fat string of pearls snaking around the rotten banana peels, however. And is that Cordon Electric's preamp with Electra F2 tubes? It is. That catches quite a price. We're talking 12,000. No, you won't. Because none of those things are real. They're not actually in there. All you see is food waste and crisp wrappings. All you see is a broken mug with a racist depiction of the Yellow Man frolicking in saffron, only in its social sensibility. It's just organic waste. What's this? A blue piece of plastic sticks out from the apple pit. Something larger. A clipboard. A blue plastic clipboard with moist papers hanging from it.
Officer, is that your paperwork? It is. Look, the plastic has the RCM street grid on it. You've even got an autopsy form in there. If you don't mind me asking, how did this get in the trash? Understood.
Among the threadbare kitchen towels, as the legs of the slime-covered jeans begin to unspool from the garbage.
The victim's clothes? Cadaverine odor is faint. If these belong to the deceased, they were removed when he was still in the early stages of... Drop them in here, officer. Guitar marked blue jeans. Pockets empty or emptied. He wore them with a belt, too. The belt is missing. That's it. Do you see anything?
Something slimy catches you. A drab, long-sleeved shirt.
This is a military-type overgarment. No label or serial number.
The rest of the rags are...
All right. We should go to Gart again and ask if he knows who put the clothes in the trash. It could be as simple as someone from the hostel cleaning the yard. Or that one. I'd advise against confronting that force. Not really. All we know is...
The fuck's he on about, kids? You hear that?
See?
The lieutenant nods. You see, milk and egg rest with... You've done this before. No, searching for evidence. Good practice. A box falls into pieces in your hands. The container sounds a muffled gong.
That's one thing off the list.
The smell of rotten food rises to greet you. You see soggy cartons, dirty rags, and organic waste. The container sounds a muffled gong.
You said you didn't want to talk about the ledger. However, now that you have it back, it would not hurt to start taking notes on the case.
A worn map features the patchwork grid of the streets. Your finger moves through, finally coming.
For a more detailed view of the map, go to your journal.
An intricate web of blue lines stretches across the torso of the hanged man. It almost looks like the electronic patterns for you to discover. Someone who knows about history could tell you. Gone. It's just a racist mug. What's there to read here? Oh boy, here we go. What are you going to say about a broken, tossed-away mug that you dug out of the garbage? Understood. You're that kind of... It's the letter you found in the trash. A pitiful cabbage of white and yellow papers hanging from plastic board, barely held together by a metal clip. There's a piece of toilet paper, or is it cleaning tissue? No, it's toilet paper, desperately sticking to the back of the blue plastic clipboard. It's a metaphor for you. Thank you, waterlogged ledger, for spelling it out for us. They're not exactly white. They're yellowed in patches by sunlight and alcohol, and covered in dense blue handwriting. Ink escapes into watercolor patterns, reaching its tendrils across entire pages. The paper itself is checkered, with faint red lines, forming short paragraphs. Once in a while, there's a red stamp that exclaims, "Case files commit to paper." The case files themselves are plenty. You count more than 100 sodden, crumpled up, earmarked pages falling apart in your hands. They appear to be sufficiently organized and extremely dense. Work, strife, poverty, the Jamrock Quarter. These are handwritten logs of investigations dating back to January 51, this year. The exact number is hard to estimate due to missing pages and an odd naming convention. But there are at least 20, maybe 30 cases. It's the middle of March. You have attempted 2 cases a week on average. What do you mean? Is that all? Yes, it appears you employ a, shall we say, robust yet literary system. Each investigation has its case number written on the margins. Yet, still more tellingly, most are accompanied by a title, one might say even. One that draws inspiration from Snoop fiction. And yes, all caps. One is called The Next World Mural. Another, The Square Bullet Hole Murders. Another yet, The Unsolvable Case. Others appear more light-hearted. The Guys on a Couch in an Unexpected Location, and The Murder at the Hookah Parlor. Even the rare article-free Collapsing Tenement. It's going to take an effort to piece these case files together, but it can be done.
Huh? 2 complex cases to undertake is a lot, yes. You really have to push yourself. I would not suggest it, lest you start making mistakes. Two? That's a lot. I didn't mean to say you are making mistakes, by the way. That was presumptuous of me. It's okay. We all make mistakes.
Like a fan of gills, the checkered papers dry in your hand. The handwriting is extremely dense.
You mean the alphanumeric? Officer, precinct, time of arrival at the scene? Oh, you mean the titular? Yes, well, so do I. In our defense, almost everyone in the RCM does. It's a holdover from the early days of the RCM, right after the revolution, when the organization had little idea how to do things. It persists in an unofficial capacity, Officers use these titles to refer to their work among themselves. Again, in your defense, I seem to have named one the man with the hole in his head. That was a real person. His death was real. Still, I named it that, to amuse myself. I pray his loved ones never find out. Rail spiked through the head. He died. It was a workplace accident.
The notebook is annual. It says 51 on what remains of its cover. A molten strap of cardboard. Everything prior to this must have belonged to a previous volume. There is, for precisely one more. 15 pages near the end remain untouched by the damage. The checkered grid forms a structure of passages, breaking the case into subtasks to accomplish. Once all the tasks are accomplished, the case is complete. Like a fan of gills, you don't exactly close them, so much as distance yourself from the smelly papers. They're a little further from your... Yes, you can piece them together using the alphanumeric code on the margin. It always begins with HDB 41, then date of initialization and time of arrival on the scene, followed by the title. Why, yes, your precinct number is 41. Every last alphanumeric in the files begins with it, and these are your case files. It's safe to say HDB are your initials. No, the alphanumeric begins with H. Can't you see the sire is tired of these fabrications? RAC is clearly what it says on the case files. These are official documents. There is no arguing with official documents. That's comforting to hear. Now, detective, it takes half an hour to piece one of these together, if you still want to. Here are your options. Not much has changed in the meanwhile. A bunch of sodden papers still sags from the clipboard. In the back, you see thin, translucent copier paper. Some neon yellow, some bright red, all covered in boxes, like marching armies. These look like official forms, then rip them from the binder and hand them out, according to type of form. 3. The topmost are misconduct fines. The middle ones are station calls. You don't have to be an intellectual giant to do police work. A monetary penalization ranging from 20 to 250 real. Severe cases allow for 1,000 real, but that requires special paperwork. The details of issuing these fines are spread out over the rest of the fields, but they appear pleasantly vague. These are quite sinister in tone. They give a date and time for the person to appear at the specified precinct police station. Below the call are the criminal charges you risk by not appearing. All in a print so small it could be considered downright cute. A dozen pages of thin copy paper, bright red in color. You see the parameters of a deceased human form waiting to be filled. Yes, all that remains now is to fill those forms. The rest of the stinking cellulose is much worse for it's made of dark blue plastic, hard enough to beat someone to submission with. The edges are rounded, however. Something rattles inside, ever so lightly. Is there, and something small inside. Permeables. It's not hidden per se. The compartment is made for permeable materials. The plastic shimmers like lapis lazuli, but it is not seen. With your hands, you 4-sized pages hang from the clip, screwed to the... The two sides of the board appear slightly misaligned, like a drawer that's cut. The slides snap back into place. It should be possible to just, Without resistance or sound, the two panels move against each other. 2 ticket stubs and a handmade postcard. 2 octopuses are smiling, reaching their tentacles toward each other in the colored pencil drawings. The tickets permit access to the zoo in Revachol East. The aquarium costs extra. These let you go there too. Thin wax paper has been glued to a piece of cardboard. Sounds like leaves rustling when you pick it up. You see violet flowers, floral patterns, patches of glue. It smells of chewing gum, apricot flavored. A touch of cinnamon, the end of summer. Familiar handwriting lines the inside of the card. Looped, round letters in a woman's hand. A young woman in her 20s. There is care, effort, and a smile. Harry, it begins. You're already reading. I wanted to write you a letter so you can read it when you wake up. Throw it away, please. A merciful wind blows in from the Bay of Revachol, dusting the ground at your feet and raising newspapers far away. Your hands shake, holding on to it. Every morning when I step out and you're asleep behind me, it says, I find a little piece of sadness in me. I carry it in my chest, down Voyager Road. Every step I take, it grows. By the time I reach the fuel station, it has filled me entirely. I step onto the light rail and look back. Sparks fall from the bow collector. I know it will be like this until late afternoon. You. Every step I take will get lighter. It almost makes me run. Sometimes I do. I can't believe I met you. I can't believe the happiness I feel with you. You have a vast, vast soul, and I will always, always, always come back to it. Kisses, kisses, kisses. You feel the air sucked out of your lungs and the blood sucked out of your head. Everything around you gets dark. Sparks fall like snow from the bow collector. You feel the ledger slip from your hand. No, hold on. To what?
Detective.
There is nothing. Again. Nothing said, brother. Well, almost nothing. That's me. Blue eyes, that's me. Who was what?
He speaks of the sickening longing, the unwell emotion. Even in the darkness, he's grasping for it. Still trying to hold on to the great sorrows slipping in the water. Here in the paleo-mammalian cortex, we call it, because it's always there.
Tell him.
Ah, yes. In the olfactory system, they call it the apricot chewing gum scented one. It's unhealthy of them to linger on it so. It didn't smell nice. It smelled like betrayal.
There is no Voyager Road. There are no roads, no houses, no lights in the windows. It's all on. Poor bloated corpse of the past resurfacing. Don't prod at it. It will start moving again. Yeah, man. What was that about? You think they would let you? Until you disintegrate into biomolecules.
Yes. They're pouring something on you.
It's delicious. Glowing lights on a dashboard emerge out of nothingness. In the upholstered cabin of Lieutenant Kitsuragi's motor carriage, seated in the driver's basket, the air is thick with leatherworks and heavy fuel oil.
Drink. Water.
The water is cold, silvery, the stuff of life itself, as it...
Drink. You haven't drunk water in 2 days. Did you know the human body is not made to survive on alcohol alone? You need a secondary form of hydration.
With greedy gulps, you down half a liter of cold water. Some of it spills on the driver's seat. The lieutenant pays no heed to it.
What happened? You were reading your paperwork. Then you passed out. I carried you to my kinema to take you to a hospital. 10 minutes, maybe. That does sometimes happen.
He replies with such understanding, it's as if the burnt-out ruins of the past were an occupational hazard.
You dropped these. Are you okay to proceed? Good.
The Ledger of Failure and Hatred is a special item that can be used both as an interactable and a tool equipped in your held slot for skill bonuses.
Yes? What do you want to know? What's there to say? It's just stupidity. The cop kind. Our precincts can't decide if Martinez is part of Jamrock or the Industrial Harbor. Yours or mine, as if we somehow own parts of the city. Typical street gang mentality. So we've let the Union make a mockery of law enforcement here. And now it's come to its natural conclusion. Well, sort of. It's less a matter of who gets to police Martinez than who has to. It's an orphan district, in other words. I think the dispatch desk just told both our stations about the hanging. There was quite the brouhaha at the 57th, I can tell you that. Time to settle it, they said. Cop off. But I assure you, I am not their finest or toughest with 102 cases solved. What I am is least interested in a pissing competition.
So he volunteered to represent the 57th, but not out of competitiveness. On the contrary, somewhere in your mind hangs a dark green blackboard. There are 2 columns. One says, cases solved. The other, confirmed kills.
Yes, I'm an unrepentant spoilsport.
The rows are endless. Jean Vicmer, Judith Minot, a special consultant. What was his name? Then the rows degrade.
Well, technically. The official record keeper has been known to double-count murder-suicide.
A common accounting gimmick used to inflate precinct stats.
I'm good enough for this case. I'm not here to compete. I came because I had to. My fellow officers, the sergeants in particular, would have made this scene into a circus. Martinez? Nothing. It's just a puddle at the end of some drain pipe. No one cares about this place. They care about sports. Most of our colleagues don't even know how to get here. North of the interchange doesn't exist.
It's all part of the master plan, you see.
Okay, style me.
It's impossible to tell whether he's serious or joking.
In the new, 20 years ago, it's what a modern cop looked like then. Was there anything else you wanted to ask about the competition? Yes, it's a wholly pointless matter. Forget I ever mentioned it.
Look at you. It's because you're a failure. They sent you to slight Precinct 57. Just think about it for a second. You're a raging alcoholic, who showed up 3 days late wearing piss-stained disco garb. You weren't sent here to win.
I've considered it. It would be immensely ugly of them, not to mention unprofessional, but I also think it's somewhat unlikely. I checked the records. This jurisdiction dispute, who polices Martinez, reaches back to the 30s. It's as old as my station. And all this time we can't decide who gets Martinez? I think, yes, both stations would prefer a win. I am the finest of nothing. Safe? No. But you're old. You've made it this far. Something has brought you through. We've only just started working together, so I don't know what it is yet. But it's there. So no, I don't think they sent you as a joke. And even if they did, they are in for a surprise.
This coin-operated viewer is facing south. The instruction manual says to insert 25 centimes and pull the handle while looking inside. Why place a tourist attraction in the middle of such poverty? Your money disappears into the coin slot. The curtains on the display open. You lean in to catch the view. It's blurry. The lenses shift. It looks as if it was abandoned.
Really? I don't have the eyesight to make it out.
This is a wall on the side of an apartment building. You have no clue. So many walls all over Martinez. Just an ordinary wall.
Are you trying to sneak up on me?
Apparently, she doesn't like people standing behind her back. Logic error. She is not sleeping right now.
Pig's come to take me out. Trying to snuff me out. Don't get fucking clever with me, pig. Trying to sneak up.
There must be another way into the building.
Hey, what's that noise down there?
A sturdy metal door guards. The door rattles against. The door rattles again. But
Stop banging on the door! I'm not letting any more strangers inside. The police? Everyone knows the police don't come round here. No, I already told. Go check the backyard door. Maybe someone there will.
backyard door.
Madame, I assure you, we are real police officers.
There is no reply. The door
Stop banging on the door! Doesn't matter.
from within.
The police? No. Go check the
Backyard door. A striking woman leans against the cabin top of her sailing boat, smiling as you approach. Her green raincoat glistens with droplets.
Good afternoon, officers. I'm Joyce. Joyce L. Messier. I represent the board of Wild Pines, the owners of the harbour. You gentlemen must be from the RCM. Nothing, honestly. I've said it to every drunk in town, and you're the first one who's responded.
Relax. She meant it in jest.
Beaton, my maiden name. I meant you, the Revachol Citizens Militia. I'm glad to see you.
Like steel. There is strength there. If she wanted, she could sink her nails deep into your skin.
I was dispatched to handle a strike, not a lynching. Anything I can do to...
That is good to hear, madame. My colleague will take the lead on this interview. I should let you know that he is recovering from an unusual medical episode. Very unusual. But I can assure you of his ultimate competency.
It happens quicker than a shooting star. But did the lieutenant just wink at you?
How interesting. I wish you a swift recovery. In the meanwhile, you have my full cooperation, and the full cooperation of the Wild Pines Group. Why, yes I am. The boat? No. It is called Cor de Leyte 19, because that's the type of sloop it is. It's a pleasure craft, a 19 pacer. It also happens to be rated for Category 1 racing. Though my sloop, I like it a lot. It's the eel's hips, baby.
I'm enjoying this part of the interview. It has so little to do with the murder we're investigating.
Good. What we do. I'm afraid I don't speak for Wild Pines as a whole.
There was a touch of discomfort there. She wants to merely represent.
The Pines' core competency is logistics. Container shipping, freight, that sort of thing. See those airships there, blinking? Those are the shipping side of things. And that is the terminal. Another subdivision deals with energy, oil and gas exploration.
The Wild Pines Group is one of the original Revacholian Indo-tribes. Companies awarded royal monopolies by the king, the suzerain himself, centuries ago.
Why, thank you. I'm not at liberty to discuss the company balance sheet, but I can tell you that last year, the company booked more than 20 billion real in revenue. Yes, past a certain point, numbers begin to seem imaginary, but they are quite real for the 72,000 employees who depend on Wild Pines for their paychecks. A conglomerate the size of Wild Pines is like a shark. If it stops moving and growing, it will die. Then what becomes of those 72,000 families? They started as an exploration and cargo fleet conducting trade between the Samaran and Insulindian Isolas 250 years ago. when Pine ships explored the South Seminese and charted Lomantang on behalf of the suzerain. Centuries of care, deliberation, and madness have gone into this endeavor. Vessels pass through the Great Unrest to re-emerge with apricots in tow. The logic of the system is totalizing. It's taken everything from its employees to build it. You know more than you let on. Certainly it helped, but most of the original Indo tribes have failed or been absorbed. To survive, Wild Pines had to grow and adapt. No suzerain did that. You mean aside from being the terminal's legal owners, who are responsible for moving 8% of the world's cargo? There are no minor cogs in the system. Each terminal must be accounted for, lest the entire system break. Every hiccup in such a system means thousands lose their jobs, the world over. I'm here to assure that doesn't happen. Everything. Right up to, but not including, trade secrets. First, you'd have to repeal the Emergencies Act of Trade in Aliments that gives me the right to silence. It's quite the octopus. Good luck is only kept in place by the vested interests of half the civilized world, including your own.
What the ma'am means is that the Emergencies Act and the RCM both get their authority from the coalition government.
You'd be shooting yourself in the foot.
But I am derailing us. You wanted to know about the strike. I believe the official title is Senior Labour Negotiator. In practice, I'm a grocery clerk. I relay the union's demands to Wild Pines and return with Wild Pines' counteroffer.
And how are the talks going?
They're not. That's the problem. The union stopped all negotiations a week ago.
Wait, she just admitted that the lynching and the strike are connected.
Now they won't even let me into the harbour. There's a 2-meter-20 racist behemoth blocking the gates. Yes, I believe there is a connection, but that's a subject for later. What can I say? The union employs a giant covered in tattoos. A racist giant. I guess that's part of their Big Ten talk. Let's say I was not making the kind of progress I'd hoped for when I first arrived.
And when did you first?
I arrived 3 weeks ago. Yes, in the middle of February. The bay was still partially frozen then. I prefer to do these things on site.
But the strike began in December.
I wasn't the original negotiator here. I took over after Mr. Gaumont hit a wall with Mr. Clare, the union boss. Mr. Clare refused to speak with Gaumont despite concessions he'd granted the union in prior negotiations.
This isn't the first time the union has gone on strike.
Heavens, no. There have been 2 prior strikes. Both times the union won significant concessions, including overtime pay and a medical plan. This time their demands are more, I guess you could say, aggressive.
Ludicrous even. It's meant.
Mr. Clare told him to... how did he put it? Fuck off, midget. Gaumont is short of stature, you see. Keep in mind, this is a negotiator Mr. Clare has worked with before, and who was more than fair with him and the union. There are leaflets everywhere, and banners. Every worker, a member of the board.
Most of the workers probably don't know what that means.
In its defense, another said, demand democracy. Pretty tame stuff compared to every worker, a member of the board. It's quite simple, you see. Every time the Wild Pines Group makes a decision about what? About anything, really, it needs the signature of each of the 2,200 workers in its Martinez terminal. Just so you understand, this is but one of 22 terminals owned by Wild Pines. Essentially, not only are they kings of the company, they are also kings of the 72,000 employees of Wild Pines Group. They're having a blast. But how can they afford it? After 4 months, my assumption was they would prefer a more practical solution. I'm not sure. Naturally, I assumed that was just their opening position, a hard-nosed tactic with a side of mockery. But there's been no follow-up, just the same nonsensical slogan repeated over and over again. And now, people are getting lynched, I hear. Behind the whirling in rags, a disaster.
Excuse me, from whom did you hear about this lynching?
I first heard it from the boyer at the gates. The one whose very name advertises his aversion to work. I think he said it was, "Call me mañana."
This checks out.
The scabs? You mean the huddled masses of Jamrock, come to plead for work where the union refuses to?
Don't let her answer it herself.
If these workers were organized by Wild Pines or its affiliates, then it would be a company secret. I could not share it with you. Not yet, at least.
It's implied. She's open to discussing this matter with you at a later occasion.
Everard Clare is a man of the utmost integrity. If you can say one thing about him, it's that he always puts the interests of the workers first. Of course not. Everard is fantastically corrupt. I imagine he has a thick, viscous goo where you and I have blood. He is the most corrupt individual I have ever seen, and I deal with men like him for a living. If there is anyone more venal, more irredeemably nepotistic, then it's his twin brother, Edgar. Yes, Edgar looks exactly like his brother, except for that lazy eye. He also talks exactly like Everard does, and when one's term as foreman is up, the other takes over. It's how they circumvent the term limits, you see, with a funny little switcheroo. While in office, they've embezzled God knows how much of their workers' dues. The Débardeurs Union was once a perfectly normal institution. 20 years ago, anyway. It must not have been easy to establish under the Emergency Act. But they did it. I can respect that. Organised labour at its best, as they say. Then something happened in the local chapter elections. The brothers Clare came and transformed it into a... how do you say?
A mob. The Débardeurs are a crime syndicate. Sad as it may be, I suspect we'll be forced to cooperate with them.
Refreshingly honest, officer. The company has tried appeasing in the past, but I'm afraid our concessions have only emboldened Everard and his brother. And your opinion, detective, if I may ask? I'm a curious and talkative person, you see. Would you say the Débardeurs Union is... Of course, officer. I'm glad you asked. There was a woman...
Disappeared?
Yes. On the last day of the local chapter elections, her daughter phoned in and said she wasn't running anymore, or coming to work.
This forewoman, her name?
Sadly, the company records do not even give a name. She's just forewoman in private correspondence, Holly. I don't even know if it's a sir or given name, and I don't have access to the union's files. Downright haunting, if you ask me. The point of the presentation is, these kinds of things happen around the Clares.
Thank you for your concern, ma'am. We'll be just fine.
Of course. How else can I help? That's the man who was killed. I'm afraid this is a discussion for once we've cleared the lynching question. Better not tie the fourth day to the bat's day on this. I hope there is something else I can help you with. Quite a few things, I'm afraid. The information I'm to share with you includes sensitive trade secrets. For the sake of my employer, I have to ask for your names and badge numbers.
Of course, ma'am. We should have introduced ourselves. I am Lieutenant Kitsuragi from Precinct 57, and this is my colleague from Precinct 41. I'm afraid he doesn't have his badge at the moment. I hope mine will suffice.
How curious. Why is that, Detective? I see. So, are you saying you lost your badge during the course of this episode? Oh dear. Some kind of encephalopathic amnesia. I do believe you, naive as that may sound. I simply can't imagine what you gain by faking such a condition.
As I said, ma'am, his technique may be very unconventional, but he is an officer of the RCM.
Of course, I sympathize, but I'm afraid I simply can't share anything more until I've seen that badge.
She's a professional negotiator. She should be open to some sort of mutually beneficial arrangement.
Of course. But before we do, officers, the situation is extremely volatile. The sooner we can speak about this lynching business, the better for all of us.
Is what you want to say. Look at that lady. Take a gander. Squint your eye, a well-kempt, yet tastefully short, while dull orange pearls hang from her earlobes, red from the cold. Her light green eyes scan you, full of knowledge. These are the kind eyes of the rich man that seem to say everything is possible, within reason. Now look at you, you misery-clad simian, barely able to tie your own laces. Your armpits are lakes. A scythe of booze precedes you. Your hair sticks to your forehead, and your underwear feels uncomfortable. You're poor, poor as balls. You can't ask this person for money. You're too... Shame? You haven't really been in the presence of gentlefolk either, have you?
As I was saying, if there's any way I may be of assistance, please don't hesitate to ask.
I am sorry. It just doesn't come out of your mouth. Surprisingly eloquent, really. The last one, not the first three.
My. Why'd you say that? That's garbage. You're a police officer. Of course. This...
Yes, reality is your side case. An experimental side case.
Ah, yes. The episode.
Don't be phased, madame. He functions perfectly well.
We may be here a while then. Ask away, officer.
All right, we're in. I know these all look good, but begin with the first, okay?
We're in Martinez, baby. A casual term of endearment popular among the 50-plus crowd. It's a disco holdover, pay it no heed. Aren't we all?
She refers to your corresponding ages.
Martinez is a district of Revachol. A very small district tucked away near the industrial harbour. North of the 881 and Jamrock. You would be excused for not knowing about it. Unimportant, they say. Forgotten, even. Shelled to smithereens during the Revolution. It has its charms, just not this time of year. I'm not a good ambassador. I've only been here once before, as a teenager. Not a lot has changed. There are ruins, a terminal, fishing boats, reeds, boys with boxy shoulders. This place used to be a province, a workers' resort before the city swallowed it and the artillery did its work. The reeds are the real star of the show here now. It's not really a sea, it's the Bay of Revachol, and the bay feeds into the ocean.
Known to the early Revacholians as Les Immensités Bleues, the Blue Immensities.
Caillou. Imagine a pebble. A smoothed-over pebble amidst a great blue sea, misshapen, cracked. The cracks are the River Esperance. We're in the delta of this river, on the 6th branch, the Martinez Distributary. Revachol? Revachol is what you call a city. The great kind. History detective. They built this city to resolve history. Our part in it, at least. Our centuries. In the DeLorean century. 380 years ago, the nations of the Occident, or migrant workers from Seminine and Ile-Marat, depending on your creed. They say it's where the terrible questions of our time will be answered. By that I mean conflicts. We are standing on a fertile, self-sufficient island able to sustain up to 200 million people in the middle of the Insulindic Ocean. The The world's connective tissue. It's where the money is. Oh, we're quite a way off. About...
A collection of tall ghosts behind the water vapor, light reflecting off their glass windows.
22 kilometers from the center of the world. That soldering iron is the Bank of the World building. The bottom floors are Insiacom. Coalition government, Insulindian Mission Command.
Silence. The water, the light. It's as though you're seeing it for the... There is no recognition. Only the immensity of the sea and the cold.
We are where we are. I have no truer answer to give, unfortunately.
This is one thought you...
Was there something else?
This has been informative. Thank you, ma'am. Might I suggest not asking them all right now? Ma'am...
Absolutely. My commitment here is long-term.
Oh, of course not. You are already diligent for getting this far. And diligent boys remember where they left off.
Indeed. I'm always at your service. These are unimportant times, Detective. For the big time. The revolution. It's quite easy. Every 100 years or so, our species gets together to decide what's next, who gets shot in the head, and who gets the mineral rights. It's a real kerfuffle. Those would be the communists. Generally speaking, 40 million people got shot in the head during the World Revolution. But the communists, they all got shot in the head. Oh, and the anarchists too.
She likes the totality of it.
Did they ever? Before they got shot themselves, they shot 2 million people.
Yeah, it was a kerfuffle, all right.
Yes, the Insulindian deluge, they call it. Oh, lots of people. Even the king got shot in the head, or thrown beneath a horse, or drowned. Accounts differ. The real king abdicated and lived out a long and productive life as a venture capitalist in Grad. Yes, King Guillaume had a nose for bad PR. He ran before it. What is the expression? Went down? Him and tens of thousands of his wonderfully fascist kingsmen. It was the liberals got the mineral rights. And by mineral rights, I mean everything. Liberals are usually middle-class people, Detective. Or the remaining gentry. The beneficiaries of the pre-revolutionary arrangement. Some were rich enough to stay with the Constitution, with monarchy. Big mistake. Others bet on the revolution. They were called the ultras, or ultra-liberals. They didn't win so much as survive. We were the last ones standing when the war ended. Everyone else got shot in the head, remember? To foreign intervention. The coalition. Those people really took the mineral rights. The liberals took everything that wasn't nailed to the ground. The coalition took the ground. The ocean, the laws, and the people. The coalition of nations. Grad, Mesk, Vesper, Messina, Oranje, and Sur-le-Clay. The armed center of the world. They landed here and ended the revolution. The moralists believe in keeping everything exactly the way it is. At least not in the same manner and volume as the others do. They are the long-standing provisional rulers of Revachol now. This is their zone of control. They embolden the RCM with crumbs of the same law they took. Technically speaking, you are a moralist.
The color of moralism is blue. The official motto of Moral Intern, or Moralist International, is a blue forget-me-not, a piece of grey sky. unofficial. For a moment, there was hope.
An almost endearingly moralist standpoint. It must be hard to take a moderate approach to head shooting in your line of work. The turn of the century revolution? Don't answer it. It's a trick question. The revolution began in 02 on the Isla of Grad. It wasn't a who, but a what. A pandemic of Zarat, a particularly virulent prion disease, which the authorities in Grad proved unable to contain. Then Mazov came along and overthrew the government. It made people overthrow their governments. Indeed, Zarat is a highly infectious microorganism that destroyed brain tissue. The actual causes of the revolution were material. The pandemic only provided the spark.
It was a funny time in history. They discovered transistors and rock music, but they didn't know anything about prions.
From Revachol and Grad? Not far. The world managed to cauterize itself. Mazov's government was overthrown in 08, and the coalition crushed the Revachol commune 2 years later. Why? You and I, officer. Our lives in the zone of control. Modernity. They developed the marvels of the inter-Islary communication. Telematic milieus, radiation, colored plastics. Meanwhile, in Revachol West...
51 minus 8 equals 43.
Time flies. Anxious to hear more about mineral rights? They are what they are. Anyway, enough sentimentality. It's a neurological disorder caused by a lack of vitamin B in the brain. Symptoms include a retrograde amnesia. It's quite serious. You should get yourself checked out. Well, it's either bariatric surgery or long-term alcohol use.
She nods slowly.
What I am not is a basic term of reality.
There may be a way to get her speaking about herself.
A bird? A sphenicid? A flightless bird of the polar regions? Ah! This is the pier of Rue de Saint-Ghislaine, 33A, where the tenants have been kind enough to rent me a slot. Or two. A pre-revolutionary tenement. Old buildings are called tenements, you see. And new buildings, bâtiments. After les bâtiments nouveaux. But 33A and 33B are not nouveaux. They're old. This one used to be 8 to 10 stories tall. A real high-rise by the standards of the last century. Mostly the urban middle class, I believe. This was once primo real estate, before the cannons lopped 4 or 5 stories off. Splat, splat.
You could be wrong, but from here it appears as if she's running the brush across her throat in a soaring motion.
Wonderful. The girl in the old lady rags? Looks like a sullen and rebellious member of a teen infraculture. Yes, you and I belong to the supraculture. We're common, the herd. The music on the radio, the food in the chain restaurant, those are all too popular for the girl in the old lady rags. She prefers a fantasy world, an infraculture with its own dress code and vernacular. It is an illusion, I'm afraid. There is no refuge from the supraculture. Young people who dye their hair funny colors and wear old people's clothes are stupid, and their little rebellion is self-defeating. All right?
Suddenly, you're not so sure you're part of the super...
And what would that be? I can see that, yes. I dabble in those dark arts myself, not so long ago. I assure you, it was a thoroughly supracultural phenomenon. Nothing infra about disco, baby. Those days are long behind me. And even in the early 30s, I would say I was more of a new girl. The new. A cultural era. And the name of the decade it ravished, the 30s. It came out of post-revolutionary Revachol. It involved lots of partying, as you might imagine, and champagne-coloured everything. By the looks of it, that would have been when you came of age. Now, wasn't it Guillaume Le Million who said, if you can remember the new, you weren't there?
For some reason, your mind is a veritable repository of Guillaume Le Million.
Glad to have been of assistance. The little that I know. More lessons in basic reality? Glad to have been of assistance. The little that I... Of course, Detective. Take care.